Cristiano Ronaldo absence explained after Portugal captain Mrs. Diogo Jota. Funeral interaction. When grief whispers louder than icons, a nation in Amoro Nanji Gandamore was quiet that morning, not out of routine stillness, but from collective grief. Streets normally buzzing with market chatter and bakery queues were lined with silence. Black ribbons hung from balconies. Local schools remained shut. Church bells rang once, long and slow. It wasn't just another funeral, it was a day of national heartbreak. The tragedy that claimed Diogo Jota and his brother Andre Silva had rippled far beyond Portuguese borders. News outlets worldwide led with the story. UEFA sent condolences. Liverpool paused training. Wolves FC issued black and white commemorations. The Portuguese Football Federation declared a 48-hour period of official mourning. Candlelit vigils appeared outside Estadio do Dragão and Anfield as fans in red and white scarves stood united, tears falling silently into the fabric of their shirts. In Gandamore, Diogo's hometown and final resting place, emotions were raw. His school teachers from Escola Secundaria de Gondomar stood at the back of the church, some holding old class photos. His childhood coach from Gondomar SC spoke briefly to reporters, voice cracking as he recalled the boy with more humility than hunger, but 10 times the heart. The service goodbyes in red and Gorianda. Funeral service took place at the Chapel of the Resurrection, aptly named for a moment that felt more like a goodbye than a renewal. The doors opened early to accommodate a sea of mourners. Some arrived in Portugal jerseys, others in Liverpool scarves. All arrived in pain. Virgil van Dijk and Andy Robertson were among the first from Liverpool's squad to arrive, placing red floral tributes bearing the Liverbird crest at the chapel's entrance. The message attached to our brother: "You will always be with us on the pitch and in our hearts." Bernardo Silva, Bruno Fernandes, and João Neves followed soon after. Neves, visibly emotional, having flown in from Saudi Arabia just hours earlier. He helped carry Jota's coffin with a trembling grip. He had known Jota not only as a Portugal teammate, but as a brother figure at Wolves. Manager Arne Slot stood quietly near the front pews, alongside Liverpool teammates Curtis Jones, Harvey Elliott, Alexis Mac Allister, Wataru Endo, and Darwin Núñez. Former Reds James Milner, Jordan Henderson, and Chloe Mung Kelleher also made the trip. Jota's wife, Ruth Cardoso, who married him just last month, sat alongside his parents and Andrea's family. Her veil did not hide the collapse in her shoulders when the priest, Father José Manuel Macedo, read aloud from the Book of Psalms. It was not a football farewell, it was a human one, the absence that spoke loudr, and then, inevitably, eyes turned toward the one man who wasn't there: Cristiano Ronaldo, captain of Portugal, global footballing icon, close friend of Diogo. Absent. The whispers began early that morning. Reporters scanned arrivals. Fans speculated on social media. Wasn't he coming? The answer came softly from a source close to Ronaldo. He had chosen not to attend, not because of a lack of grief, but because of too much attention. His presence would have turned the day into something else, the source explained. He didn't want cameras flashing at every tear, didn't want mourners overshadowed. He wanted the focus to stay on Diogo and Andre. It was a decision met with a mix of surprise, misunderstanding, and ultimately respect. For in a world where Ronaldo's every move is newsworthy, his restraint said more than 1,000 Instagram stories ever could. Ronaldo's tribute from afar, though not there physically. Cristiano Ronaldo's voice echoed through the digital world the moment he posted his tribute. It doesn't make sense. We were just together in the national team, and you had just gotten married to your family, your wife and your children. I send my condolences and wish them all the strength in the world. I know you will always be with them. Rest in peace, Diogo and Andre. We will all miss you. Over 20 million interactions followed. Thousands commented their own stories of Jota. Teammates reposted with broken hearts. Behind the scenes, Ronaldo personally called JOTA's family. According to close friends, he offered private financial support for foundations in JOTA's name and pledged to help mentor young forwards in his honor. He mourned, just differently. Teammates in tears, tributes on the GRO wind inside the church, emotions spilled over like rain. Bruno Fernandes held his head in his hands. Harvey Elliott openly sobbed. Darwin Núñez stood rigid, hand on heart, unable to speak. As the choir sang Ave Maria, Ruth Cardoso whispered a final goodbye into her husband's casket. Her words were inaudible, but her heartbreak was universal. Arne Slot, who had worked with JOTA only briefly, described him as the soul of a family and the joy of a squad. Robertson recalled JOTA's generosity, always the first to offer a lift, a laugh, or his Netflix password. James Milner gave a brief eulogy. He didn't talk much. But when he did, it was with love, mischief, and meaning. We didn't just lose a teammate, we lost one of the kindest humans we'll ever know. Portugal grieves a nations. Lois Portugal responded with a silence rarely seen in sport. All domestic matches scheduled that weekend were postponed. Every national stadium flew the flag at half-mast at Benfica Sporting and Porto games later in the week. Moments of silence were held. Fans in stadiums across Europe held banners, Obrigado, Diogo, Jota, Eterno. Do seu continua a cara. Portuguese, the Portuguese FA, released a joint statement. Diogo Jota was not only a fantastic player with almost 50 caps for the national team, but also an extraordinary person. Respected by teammates and opponents, he had a contagious joy and was a reference point in his community. We have lost two champions. Their deaths represent irreparable losses for Portuguese football. Life after loss, legacy, memory, and the futureal legacy is not built solely in goals or assists. It is carried in memories, in kindnesses, in the things people say when the stadiums go dark. For Diogo Jota, his legacy now lives in a scholarship fund set up in his name by Liverpool FC for underprivileged children in Portugal, a mural in Gondomar, painted on the very field where he first laced his boots. Match to be hosted every year between Liverpool and a Portuguese she. In his honor, the words of his peers. Jota was the kind of guy you want your son to grow into, said Curtis Jones. He played with humility and lived with heart, echoed João Neves. He made football feel lighter, said Slot. He made people feel seen. The final moments, a silent PROMISAs, the funeral came to a close and the casket was lowered. The crowd sang softly. Not a chant, not a cheer, but a lullaby. Something between mourning and gratitude. As the priest read the final blessing, a dove flew from the chapel's roof, a sign many believed. A message. Among those who remained after the service ended, Van Dijk placed his palm on the hearse and whispered something no one could hear. Ruth held onto her father-in-law's arm, walking as if each step away from the church took a piece of her heart to Cristiano Ronaldo. At that moment, was said to be watching a live stream privately with his children, in silence. With tears. Epilogue. A goodbye without a presence, but never without LOV. Absence does not equal apathy. In the most painful moments of life, we all grieve differently. Some in public, some in silence. And some, like Cristiano Ronaldo, in a quiet room, so the spotlight doesn't dim the candles of others. He wasn't at the funeral, but his absence was an act of love. His silence, a gesture of respect, and Diogo, Jota father, husband, teammate, champion, would have understood. Because love isn't measured by attendance, it's measured by intention. He would have smiled at the tributes, laughed at the old memories, and perhaps teased Ronaldo for being so sentimental. And then he'd remind us, life is precious. Play it with heart. Rest in peace, Diogo. Rest in peace, Andre. You were loved beyond words and missed beyond measure.